Video number 259, writing cotangent in terms of sine. Now in this video, we're only going to do this one, where you're going to rewrite one trig function into another, in terms of another at least, and they're all going to work the same way. So if it asks us to write cotangent in terms of sine, we're going to start with this trig identity and try to make everything in here written in sine. So we would obviously change this to 1 over sine squared, right? If it says write cosecant in terms of, you know, whatever, that we would go to the cosecant equation and try to change everything over here into cosecants. Okay, so that's the idea in this exercise. Basically, we're practicing the idea of using the trig function identities, the trig identities, and rewriting them in terms of another. Now, if we had y in terms of x, well, that would mean y equals, you know, 5 times x, or y equals x plus 10. What you have is there's going to be some operations done to sine. So we're going to take cotangent and we're going to have some operations done to sine. So the key is to pick one of these three Pythagorean identities and we just go from there. Okay? So here's the first step. We're going to choose the right trig identity, which is the 1 plus cotangent equals cosecant squared. We then subtract 1 on both sides because we want to get cotangent by itself, basically. So basically this means solve for cotangent, but make sure the other side only has sine. So if the other side had a cosine, we would rewrite it so that it had sine instead. Okay? So here we are, cotangent squared. It's cotangent theta squared. Well, cotangent squared theta. Basically, you're squaring the cotangent. And I put this twice so that we could see that whenever I write cotangent squared, it means the same thing as cotangent squared theta. It means the same thing. Okay? So we go ahead and substitute 1 over sine in for cosecant. And then now we have 1 over sine squared minus 1. And then now what I do is I rewrite 1 so that I can have common denominators, right? So then we have sine squared over sine squared, which is obviously 1. Then we go ahead and combine the numerators together to get 1 minus sine squared. And now this actually does mean something else. You could use one of the trig identities to rewrite 1 minus sine squared, which is actually equal to cosine squared if you subtract sine squared on both sides. But we would not want to do that here because we want the cotangent to be written in terms of sine. So now that we have sine there, we don't want to change it. Basically, all we do at this point is square root both sides, and upon doing so, we get plus or minus, and we have the square root of sine squared is just sine, so then the numerator just stays as 1 minus sine squared. So that is rewriting cotangent in terms of sine.